Joining us now for his insights on President Marcos's engagements in Switzerland is Froilan Calilung of the UST Department of Political Science. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor. Amid all of these trips of the Chief Executive over the last 7 months, it has now totaled 8 in less than 7 months. Are you excited about the Philippines being a investment destination?
Well, of course, the optimism will always be there, Rico. No? But when you look at Davos, for example, the World Economic Forum, for many number of years, this has been nothing but what I call an Oscars for the rich and the global elites. No? So it's really hard how a country like the Philippines will be able to fashion itself, amidst the glitz and the glamour of this world spectacle. So I think we could still attract foreign investments, and I believe that one of the reasons why the president is there is actually to create a kind of a global reputation that the Philippines is ready for business, and that the economic climate of the country is conducive for it. Although when you look at the economy, technically speaking, it does not really bode well, no? Especially when we look at the inflation currently, even if the government is thinking that the inflation rate will be going down a bit from around 2.5 to 4.5% this year, it doesn't necessarily mean that the prices of the commodities will go down. Rather, the prices of the commodities will not increase that much as compared in the previous year. No?
And so, of course, Professor, if you take a look at the last SWS survey, 12.9 million or 51% of Filipinos are feeling poorer because of higher inflation. Right. Prices of goods, vegetables, onions, sugar, basic commodities are soaring. And inflation is at a 14-year high. Shouldn't the president be resolving these issues first before promoting us as an investment destination?
Well, yeah, in a way, but of course, I think if we take a cue or two from what the president is saying, that we live in a highly globalized world right now, wherein we need to leverage on the strength of other countries' economies as well. Maybe that is what he's thinking, that will somehow try to alleviate our present condition from what we're experiencing right now. So probably that is what he's thinking. But when you look at the economic fundamentals, especially right now, what we're feeling, the massive inflation, and of course this peso devaluation that we experienced last year, and the impending recession. Okay, although the Philippines, I would like to think, is going to be spared from this recession. I think the government needs to really focus hard. I think needs to work harder on increasing the economic fundamentals of the country,
and before this trip,
in combating inflation.
And before this trip, Professor, the president and his administration have been touting tens of billions of dollars in pledges from these foreign trips. Are the Filipino people already feeling the fruits of these visits?
Yeah, that's another contentious issue, Rico. Because when you look at the Davos, for example, Davos World Economic Forum, I've tried looking into several studies, empirical studies that have been conducted before, and that there appears to be little to almost very, very small significance, especially for poorer states or developing countries like the Philippines, that we could actually generate from this gathering. So I think if we are going to spend this much money, and we are not going to realize that much of investments in return, I mean, I'm not just talking about pledges, but actual investments, then I think this is not going to be very cost beneficial for us.
Absolutely, because pledges are much, much different from direct investments, hard cash that flows through the financial system of the country and creating more jobs for our kababayans. And the president, Professor, has also been pushing for his Maharlika Investment Fund agenda. Shouldn't he wait until Congress passes it into law before he promotes it at the World Economic Forum in Davos?
Well, my take on that is that as we know, this bill has been railroaded in the lower house, but I think it will meet some kind of stiff resistance in the Senate. So I think this is one way in which the president may try to unduly put pressure on the Senate to pass the law once it gets into the Senate, because he already announced it to the whole world, you know. So of course we wouldn't want to be a laughing stock of the world if we are not going to pass the legislation. So that's what I'm seeing. But according to him, what he's going to present are just broad strokes of the law itself, or rather the bill itself. But I think with a budget deficit, okay, that we currently have more than 1 trillion, I believe.
Yeah.
I think this is does not sit well. You know, I mean, it doesn't really sit well into my personal liking that we are going to advance this Maharlika Investment Fund.
And of course, Professor, before you invite investors to our shores, we really have to fix first our ease of doing business, the bureaucracy, and this perception of corruption.
Exactly. That's very true. And when you look at this trip, of course, this particular trip in Davos, and I am not so sure as to what reports to believe in. You know, there are some people saying that there are 70 in the delegation. Some people are saying there are only 18. But I think transparency is an issue here, you know, because we cannot invite investors to actually invest in our country if we have serious problems, you know, with transparency. So I think the government should come clean and try to really bring out in the open exactly how many members of the delegates are. Of course, I do understand that Davos, the World Economic Forum, is multi-sectoral. It's not only political, it's not only business, but it also will involve civil society. But if the reports are true that we have 70 in the delegation, I think that's way too many.
Well, that's only a number, right? 70 in the delegation of President Marcos to Davos, but also the cost, the transparency, and telling the people the cost of every trip that he has taken since he became president hasn't been revealed.
I can only talk about what I've known so far in so far as this trip in Davos is concerned. Because when you look at it, he was invited in November, but it was only later on that he, I think, agreed. And by the time that he agreed, most of the hotels that are there exactly in the area or within the vicinity of Davos have already been filled up. So the next possible or plausible location will be in Zurich. And Zurich is one of the, I believe, the 7th most expensive city in Europe now. So that will mean increased, we call this spending or expenditures for a delegation. If it's true that it consists 70, then that I believe is quite a lot or quite too much.
Thank you so much for your insights on President Marcos's trip to Davos, Switzerland. Froilan Calilung from the USC Department of Political Science.